Hello there, this is Ani again, and today I am going to take you through the Kitsap Great Give 2017 second training, Advanced Planning Great Give 201. If you were not able to attend the trainings or you just didn't catch everything, you wanted to review whatever, or maybe you want to you're showing it to someone else, this is for you then. And let's go ahead and get started. Here's our sponsors. If you haven't watched the first training already, then you might not know that we have a new sponsor. Prize sponsor Clearwater is in for the party. We're still working on the prize, but they're definitely in for the party, and you'll be finding out more about that as we go. So today's training is for you if you've attended the basic training or watched it or previously participated in the Kitsap Great Give. So if you're watching this video, you need to have already watched the tutorial for registration. Figure out the basics of how things work. Look at the infographics, look at the informational videos. So we're not going to tell you the basics of what it is. You need to already know that. So if you're not sure about that yet, then go ahead, look at all those informational videos and infographics and get up to speed. You have a clear idea of who your donor base is. So we're not going to spend much time talking about like we did in the first planning, whether you're getting new donors or trying to network with other nonprofits or anything like that. You have experienced staff or volunteers to help you expand. And you have a board that's already educated about giving days. So if your board doesn't even know what this is, then you might want to have them watch the first training and maybe even the kickoff training and look at some of the other videos before trying to dive into maybe some detailed planning with them, just so that you're all on the same page. We'll talk about planning with your board and staff. We'll talk about planning to engage your donors. And how to incorporate the Great Give into your larger fundraising picture. And we'll talk about starting to plan for multi-pronged communication efforts. Even though this isn't a communications or marketing training, we'll approach the planning aspect of that. Don't panic. If you're new to this, or maybe you only have a couple people working at your nonprofit right now and it's largely a volunteer base, it's okay. People have done a lot with very little in the nonprofit world for many years. You will do it. You can do it. It'll be good. This is not the only way to do things. It's not a comprehensive list of anything. It's definitely not a reason to panic. What about when things go wrong, when you slip up? Last year, as many of you know, there was a big problem. The technology platform we used failed, and it was beyond our control to fix. It was somebody else's error. If you came to the community conversation with Kimbia last year that we hosted, we actually brought them here from Austin, and they flew in and gave a presentation and talked to everybody here about what happened and um, explained how it's not going to happen again. And so I think this year we're pretty safe. I think they've got it all in hand, and they've had several successful giving days since then. Some of them raising in excess of $20 million in 24 hours. So I think we're good. But just in case, if you're nervous, here's what you can do when it all goes horribly wrong. What we do and what we did last time is we maintained communication with you, worked with the platform to correct the issue. We started taking donations by hand and we kept things going. Even if it was slowly, we knew we had to keep things flowing and keep people's spirits up. Last year, Shane and I every year we are up at midnight. We do watch the thing launch. We are monitoring things. So that's why if you talk to us towards the end of the night, we're a little slap happy there, but we do make sure that we're watching it. And so at about 7 a.m. last year, I saw that I was kind of on my shift while Shane was driving into the office and stuff, and I noticed it was really slow. So I posted some encouragement and stuff like that on social media, and I thought, well, I'm gonna have to hop in the shower because pretty soon I have to get in there into the office. And between the time I noticed it was slow and the time I stepped out of the shower, my phone blew up and Shane was trying to call me and her voicemail was full before I could call her back. So it took a few seconds to get in touch with each other and we were like, wow. I said, is everything okay? And she said, nope. So then we just immediately launched into our plan. So we do have a plan of action, and this is what it is and what we used to do it last time, to handle it last time. I think some people were hoping there could be a totally separate backup site. Um, I think that there's not a clear understanding of just how much goes into creating a backup site like that is safe for everybody to use, because it has to be secure. That was one of the things last year. There was never a security breach, and we definitely don't want that. So, so yeah, having another backup site is kind of just another layer of things to go wrong. So we're not doing that this year. In a perfect world, maybe we could. So while we're busy doing that, what can you do? Stay calm. If you start to panic, other people will see that, and that will kind of have a ripple effect to your donors. Listen to us, watch our social media, watch our email for communications to you. We'll tell you what we know as fast as we possibly can. We have nothing, no reason to hide it, because the more you know, the better off, the better decisions you can make. Put your phone number on your website for donors to call you if they have a problem or refer them to us. Um, you can also, if you wish, take your donor's information, everything that's on the giving form. So that would mean in planning, you need to have a copy, a hard copy, so you know what's on the giving form. When the system is up, take that info that you took on over the phone and enter it as if you were them. And so that's one way you can keep things going on your end, just in case. But like I said, I think we're good this year. So moving on to board engagement. How do you engage your board? Well, as when you're dealing with groups of people, the first thing you always have to do is get organized because they may not be, and you're moving them along. So get organized. So what will be your goal for board giving? So as you sit down with your board in a group, you want to ask them. They need to decide: is it maybe they gave nothing last year and they want 100%? Increase. That's a great goal from nothing to something. Maybe your board is not a board that typically gives or has access to a lot of cash. Maybe they would help decide prize challenges, and the board could come up with some cash for the prizes. That's a way that they could give. How are they going to engage your donors? Maybe if you have significant donors that annually donate quite a bit, you want to give a personal ask to them and let them know, thank them personally and let them know what it means. Maybe the donors are going to, or the board members are going to take charge of that. Are they going to help with social media, with liking and sharing and being very active with spreading the word? Um, what other communication and marketing activities are they going to engage in? Maybe they love to go out and sign up at Walmart and Fred Meyer and hand out flyers. They could do that. That's great. um, or maybe they are going to arrange a party at a local venue and make it about the Kitsap Great Give. So get organized about, you know, 2 or 3 things they can do. Don't let folks get out in the weeds where you have a board meeting that you come up with 25 ideas for the Kitsap Great Give, but nothing is ever followed through on, or there's so many ideas that it just doesn't nothing ever coagulates. So I would pick the top 3 things that are doable and that the board is really interested in. So um, get organized with that, and if you have any other tasks or strategies that you would ask them to participate in, don't overload them, because remember, most board members they don't get paid for it. It's volunteer, so they have a life too. So maybe they could also help you in getting ready for the Kitsap Great Give, not just in engaging the public. Um, Again, the board buy-in education is key. So if before you dive into this, as I said in the beginning, use our materials to help tell them what this is, create a realistic expectation for them. Um, you can give them your own training or just have them watch these trainings, in addition to showing them the YouTube informational videos and things like that. Don't let them think, hey, yeah, if we come into the Kitsap Great Give, we're going to get all these donations and it'll save our organization from dire financial straits. Um, that could happen. Nothing's impossible, but it is definitely highly improbable. So let them know what it is, and help them to have a realistic expectation to set the goal. Now, this seems kind of obvious when I say, tell them how they can help. Well, yeah, of course you're going to do that. But you need to be really specific. Don't just say, hey, you can help me by participating and giving. Tell them exactly how they can do it. Maybe they could create your own bonus pool, and I'll talk more about that later, but it is totally okay for you as a nonprofit to create your own bonus pool from your own sponsors in addition to ours. It doesn't exclude you from getting ours. They could commit to personal asks. They could have they could donate, themselves. Uh, and they could have a sponsor pool in addition that just sponsors you, that might be matching dollars, not necessarily bonus. I'll talk more about all that stuff later. And tell them what to do to help. So don't just say, hey, create a bonus pool. Tell them, in order to create a bonus pool, you have to do exactly this. Be really specific. So don't just say, hey, I would like you to commit to ask 5 major donors or 3 major donors personally. Instead, in the meeting, say, hey, Bob is now committing to call person A, person B, and person C by this date. And then by our next board meeting, get back to us with an answer. Okay, Bob? And Bob has denied yes, and it has to be in the minutes. And then you give Bob the minutes and then call Bob and say, hey, Bob, remember it's in the minutes. You're calling these 3 people. So don't let folks forget. Be really specific. Um, you could tell them that they might work for a prize challenge. They could be part of a like and share team. And like I said, who to call and when. Don't assume that they're all going to be on the same page with you and know exactly what you know, especially if you've done this before and you've done the Great Give before, and say you have several new board members that just were brought on. Remember how you felt when you first started doing this. Even though it's not that complicated, your brain is still filled with all the daily workings of the business, and to take on that much information, it takes a little bit to get your equilibrium there. So they're going to be in the same spot. So don't assume that they all have it down like you do. Be sure to tell them, give them the specificity that they need. And create accountability. um, and by that, I was joking about in the training. All my examples involve that guy Bob, and I think by the end of the training, he was no longer allowed donuts at a staff meeting or something. I can't remember. So when I say create accountability, um, I don't necessarily mean, punishment. Although sometimes you want to do that when people are kind of flighty and don't remember. But what I mean is, don't make this a casual conversation. Like I said before, get commitments, have others write down what they're doing, and discuss how this participation fits into the goals of community involvement and community awareness. So every nonprofit's here to help the community. That's why 501c3s exist. So how does your goal in the Kitsap Great Give meet your mission? How is your board member participating in this event helping to meet your mission? Because that's what they signed on to do, is to meet the organization's mission. So bring that home for them in a really clear way, like you helping us meet this part of our mission. If you have in your bylaws a requirement that a board member give a certain amount per year, some nonprofits do have that. Let this be a way they can do that. They can fulfill that requirement, and so that kind of they do their annual giving, but then it's boosted by a bonus pool, so you get a little extra out of it. You could create a contest that's specific to employees or board members or both. Maybe the staff is trying to get more people to to commit to a give than the board is, and whoever wins, there's a prize. You could do something like that. Or um, Sue Strahan from Olympic College brought up a really fabulous idea during the training, which is one of the things I love about trainings in person is everybody gets to talk and there's a little bit of um, brainstorming there, and it's always really interesting. And her idea was to call former board members and say, hey, let's do a contest between former board members and current board members and see which group can do the most personal asks or get the most people to commit. And this year we have a special tool that can help do that. Um, and it's called Advanced Giving, and we're really excited about it. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later in the training and explain how you can use that. But if you former board members, people forget about them, but often they are your best first source to go to for a team. I mean, they still care about your mission and organization, but people leave boards all the time. They overcommit. Life is busy. Um, their term is up, and they just are on too many boards, and so they don't re-up it. I mean, this happens all the time. Doesn't mean that they've gone out into the ether and no longer care. So get a hold of them. That's a great fun way to get board members past and present involved. So there's some things that you can do to create accountability. And as I said in the first training, and I'll probably say it again, whether it's board members or any other kind of volunteer, the best way to get a volunteer to be accountable for what they do is to tell them how much it matters. Thank them profusely and let them know if it weren't for you, then this wouldn't be happening. And keep them encouraged. Like tell the same stories that you tell your donors. Tell that to your staff and your board. Let them know, hey, here's some success stories for what we do. Because sometimes when your head is down and you're just trying to get the job done on time and under budget, you lose sight of the larger picture. And even though you know in your head you're helping people, to have someone sit down and say, look at what you did. This is amazing. It really encourages them to keep going. So that's some good ways to create accountability. Staff engagement. Very similar to board engagement, you're going to have to be sensitive with staff that most nonprofit staff are generally overworked anyway, just because of the way the nonprofit world works at this time. One day it will not be so, I have faith. But for now, please be really sensitive to that, because one way to get your staff to kind of back off and not really be involved in the Great Give or to over involve and then burn out is to not clearly outline what they're responsible for and do it yourself first. Because when you write down all of somebody's responsibilities on paper, or better yet, ask them to write it all out on paper, then say thank you and sit down and try to add a responsibility, you're probably going to add a lot fewer because you're going to see how much they really do. And it's always different when you write it down on paper. I have to do that for myself because I think, oh yeah, I can take this on. And then I start to plan it out and I'm like, oh yeah, I could take it on, but I'd probably screw it up. So maybe not. So what is the one most important thing that you can do with your staff when giving them these responsibilities? And that is to make it fun. Yay. So educate them the same way that you would educate the board. Show them these trainings, informational videos, infographics, explain to them what you're doing if they don't already know. They're just as important as the board. They're the people that get all the stuff done on a daily basis. Clearly outline how they can help and clearly state their responsibilities, and don't try to hide from the fact that it is more work. Um, and like I said, say thank you to them. Make it fun. You could have a launch day on on April 4th, the first marketing day. Bring cupcakes. Encourage them to participate in events. Come to the Clearwater Casino party. Have things that really make it worthwhile. If everybody's staying a little bit later or a little bit stressed out because they had to take time away from their work to um, put your logo stickers on some flyers or something, uh, order tacos for them so they can have tacos after or before they do the stickers or something. Acknowledge that it's supposed to be a fun event to raise money. Some examples of how you could clearly outline staff responsibility. Some of you may be laughing, haha, PR staff, like we could have that level of staff. I'm not saying you need to hire them or anything like that, but just so you can see an example of how you might say to a staff member or a volunteer that would be responsible for PR duties. You would want to clearly outline by having a sheet that says send emails to media outreach lists. So meaning, your website, maybe a local newspaper, maybe there is a newsletter that your field of interest studies, or pardon me, your field of interest publishes something like that. Sending update emails, this kind of thing. So clearly line out what they may or may not be doing. If you want a template for that, please again download the Great Give guidebooks and workbooks and everything that I went over in the first training. In this recorded version of the first training, I go online and show you exactly how to get there and what it looks like when you click on the link and how to download it. So go do that. Look at that stuff. That all has templates in there that you can use to list all of these things. There's Word versions, there's Excel versions. Um, so example of what social media staff or volunteer may be doing. So these are some things you might want to think about them participating in and being able to do for you. General tips, of course, we are asking for donations, that's the point, but there's a difference in making it this high pressure, it's all about asking for money, and more about let's make it fun. Let's tell people what we do, tell them our goal, and see what happens. Staff engagement. Also, it is important to be sensitive to the fact that you may work for an organization that you are not allowed to ask staff to make solicitations. They can't solicit donations. That's okay. There's other ways they can participate. They could have a party. They could spread word about prizes. You could use our prizes to inspire them, and I went through that in detail in the first training. Have them all like our pages on Facebook. The Great Give does not have its own Facebook page. I'm not going to make it one anytime soon. I could have a long conversation about that if you care to, but I won't do it now. Like the Kitsap Community Foundation page, like our posts, share our posts. They can help spread the word that way. Now, I didn't change this. This is the field guide is what I used to give out, but now I've replaced that with a series of infographics. So you give them the infographics just like we gave you, so they can know, and they can post on Facebook when they give and say, "Hey, just gave to my organization. So happy about that." Let them know that they can do that and help you out. Okay, how to leverage prizes. I'll go over this again. Our prizes, early bird. You could host a breakfast. It is the cheapest meal of the day. You could have folks sign up for a wake-up call from board members to remind them to donate. So that's one fun way you can do it. Although we do have advanced planning, the advanced giving. The advanced giving option, which again I'll explain later, does not count towards the early bird prize. So you would have to have people call in, you would have to have people go online and donate that morning of the Great Give to qualify, to have their donation qualify for the early bird prize. So you would have to call them to remind them, but make sure they sign up for the wake up call. Another one of our prizes that I went over, again, you can watch it in the first training, is the golden ticket, how to get people to do the golden ticket. You can duplicate any of our prizes. And for instance, we only do the early bird, but you could do a night owl prize or any other time frame, the lunch and munch prize, whatever. You could offer the final dollar prize, which is fun. A lot of people do this at auctions and things. So the person to give the final donation of the night wins a prize. And so then you have people going on donating the minimum, the $10 minimum, trying to be the last person to donate, but they end up donating $50 trying to get that prize just because it's fun. It's a contest. People love contests, so you could do something like that. Um, and you can offer a party prize like we do for the Clearwater, a casino prize, and this can work for one of ours or yours. Um, and when I say party prize, I mean, so say all the people that donate at that party or during that party or can show a receipt, that come to the party with a receipt. Maybe that's the way that they get into the party. There's no cover charge, but they have to have a receipt that they donated. Stuff like that. So you can leverage some prizes. Remember that your prizes need to adhere to IRS rules. Please check your e-blasts. I'll be sending out quite a few, and in one of them will be the link to those IRS rules. Um, so in general, most nonprofits do not have the cash to generate a prize that would raise a red flag for the IRS. We're talking, if you're giving away like cars and condos and stuff like that, you've got a problem. But in general, t-shirts, things like that are not going to create too much of an issue. You will, in order to utilize the prizes, be aware that you will have to check your donor data in real time. So figure out how to do that. We'll, again, that if you don't remember it from last year, um, there is a tutorial in last year's Kitsap Great Give tutorials on our YouTube channel. You can check that to see how to get your donor data. It's going to be the same way this year. You'll need to check it in real time so that you know who's donating to give them the prize. Decide beforehand how you're going to announce it. Don't be rushing. Oh gosh, someone won a prize. Now what? Assign a specific person to announce and congratulate the winner. Don't wait until it happens and then not know how to do it. Definitely be sure somebody's following up and is sending the prize to the person. Okay, so about making your own bonus pool. You can do it. It's totally allowed. We encourage it, in fact. It's fantastic. How would you go about doing this? You, first of all, want to find sponsors to put money in the bonus pool. You could ask your board, as I said before, or staff to create the bonus pool, and you could use that in a number of ways. You could use it just like we do. To boost donors' dollars, or you could get creative with it and say this sponsorship is for um, th- people that only donate during lunchtime, and we'll boost those. If you donate between the hours of 1 and 4, your donation will be boosted from our bonus pool. So you can do a variety of things with it. How to facilitate that? You can receive those bonus funds directly, and you can, there is, when you register, please watch the registration tutorial. I don't know if I said that a couple times already. Yeah, I think I did. Watch that, because in that tutorial it shows you where you fill in the spot if you have your own bonus pool. So if you do not have your bonus pool created by the time the registration closes, that's okay. Don't give up. Keep getting the bonus pool. Just call us. We'll figure it out. In fact, I do believe that that section of the registration is actually open all the way up until the day before. You would have to check with Shane on that, but don't worry about it. Don't panic. You can receive the funds directly. You can put it in to your profile page before March 31st, and then before March 15th, and then no, I was right, March 31st. March 15th is your deadline to register. March 31st is the deadline to finish the profile. So if you get it in there before that, great. If you come up with it afterwards, call us. We'll make it work. So you can receive the funds and handle it directly, or we can get the match from you and pass it on to you. You can just say, okay, we're going to give you guys all our bonus pool match for our nonprofit and you guys manage it. That's fine. We can do that. You do not get charged any credit card fees for the bonus pool. that you create. So if you decide, okay, we've got some money from board members, staff, and a couple businesses that are supporting our organization, but we don't want to deal with it, and you give it to us, we're not going to charge you any processing fees or anything to do that. So don't worry about that. Um, if you do have that extra bonus pool, use that fact like crazy. Tell everybody. If you do get sponsors and it's not your board or staff doing it, then put up their logos. And if it is your board or staff, definitely tell people that's who's doing it. Say thank you to them. And don't forget to put it on your social media page. And when I say your profile page right here to put their logos up, you have 3 images that you can upload, and that's it. So if you use those 3 images for the sponsor logos on your profile page, then you may not be able to use any images. You won't be able to use any images about your organization. So I would suggest taking those 3 logos, making them a single picture, and that's your sponsor picture, the way that we do when we have that image. That's all of our sponsors. I call it the logo soup. um, put that Use only one image to put up their logos. That way you still have 2 pictures that you can put up that show your donors what you do. You can also send that image to me and say thank you to them, and I'll thank them on our social media. No problem. Tell everybody. Getting organized with donor engagement. Right now, get the donor lists cleaned up. So if you're using an email program and you haven't really, downloaded this self sign up sheets and organized it all, that now would be the time to get that situated. Figure out who's bounced and if they need to unbounce and clean it up. And get the kinks all worked out of email and snail mail systems as much as possible. And don't get caught up trying to do that a week beforehand and freak out. Um, Find your specific goals that you will be able to reach and get ready to tell that to your donors now. And when I say donor interface, I don't just mean your website and your Giving Day profile, but any other way that you communicate with your donors. So if you have a Twitter account that you haven't updated your cover photo on in 5 years, I would do that now. Get everything cleaned up and spiffy, ready for company. And also make a realistic assessment of what your staff resources are to engage with your donors. If they're already busy making flyers and signing up and things like that, um, just be very realistic about what you're asking them to do. And this is another one that it seems like, of course, I'm going to create a game plan, but often people don't realize just how specific you really need to be. And one of the first things you need to do is decide how you're going to engage your current donor base, because your current donors are different from your lapsed donors and new donors, and you're going to reach them in different ways. Decide how you're going to thank your donors, because that's really important, um, both during and after the day. And how are you going to talk about, or how are you going to engage new donors? You don't have their email and snail mail or phone, so you can't send them a postcard necessarily like you could a lapsed donor or a current donor. What tools and resources will you need? If you have a really old inkjet printer, you're going to need to factor in the cost of printing some stuff. So what are you going to need as far as people and technology? Your goals, again with the be specific. What exactly is the financial goal? Like, what's the dollar amount? And even if you have a goal that's, say, we want to raise $5,000, what also do you consider successful? Like, we want to raise 5,000, but if we can get 3,500, we're going to call it good. So be really specific about that. What is it going to be used for? Is it going to be to build a slide for a playground? I always say that. I don't know why. Maybe I like playgrounds. So how are you going to tell your donors about that? Specific projects are much easier to talk about than operating funds. Well, they can be. If you're raising money for your operating funds, what you're doing is you're raising money to meet your mission. So you don't necessarily want to try to explain to your donors what operating funds are and why they're important, um, because the administrative assistant needs to buy groceries, right? That's not really what they're going to understand. But if you explain what your mission is and that what you're raising money for is to meet that mission, to say feed hungry children. So every dollar they donate helps your organization work efficiently and smoothly to meet the mission. So tell them about what your mission is. That's how you would advertise that. And again, between budget, staff, and technology, be really honest with yourself about what you need. Don't think, oh, we only have this much time, but we're going to make it work. Um, have backup plans and just be very realistic. How to incorporate this into your other fundraising campaigns. And this is possible. The Kitsap Community Foundation, if you don't know, 10 days every year, 10 days after the Kitsap Great Give, we have our one and only fundraiser of the year. That's it. If we want to raise the money, we do it. We got to do it there at that fundraiser. It's also a community celebration of philanthropy in addition to that, to being a fundraiser. So we bring in nonprofits, we honor the work they do, we honor all our grant recipients, our scholarship recipients. We present the county's awards for philanthropy to individuals and businesses, and it's this huge thing with like 400 people there 10 days after the Great Give. And so it can be done to have a successful events. And the trick is to coordinate it. Don't try to separate it too much. So, for instance, don't pretend you're not doing the Great Give to um, individuals that are coming, say, to a fundraiser maybe 3 weeks before the Great Give. Instead, use that fundraiser to promote the Great Give and say, well, maybe if you've come tonight and you can't bid on an item, or your bid didn't go through and somebody else got the item you're bidding on, say your fundraiser is an auction. Instead, don't worry. If you want to take that money that you bid on the item and say mark it for the Kitsap Great Give, if you don't get the item, then we'll still take your credit card information and we'll put that in, and that can be part of their advance giving. That's a way that they can do an advance giving. So you could have an option on the bid sheet. If they don't win the auction item, then just take the money anyway that they were bidding anyway and put it towards the Great Give. So there's a lot of things that you can do for that. You can well, I just said that. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't click before I started talking. Yeah. So use your existing events. You can provide vouchers. That's another way to do for the Great Give, or they could buy a voucher. They could say write down that they're committing to do advance giving. If it's close enough to the Great Give, they could even sign up for advance giving on the website. You could have a laptop there. They could donate to a bonus pool at another event. They could say, by the way, at this event, if you donate, instead of a raffle prize, you could say, hey, if you donate $10 towards our bonus pool, then you get a ticket for a raffle prize, something like that. You can also do the reverse. Use the Kitsap Great Give to promote your upcoming events and say, hey, if you're interested in what we do for the Kitsap Great Give, you may be interested in this fundraiser we're having or this event that we're having. Definitely know your donor base. If the majority of them are not online, then you really need to take into consideration mailing times if you're going to try and coordinate different fundraising campaigns, and make sure that you have a way to reach everyone. So communication goals. Who is doing what and where is it going? What are you already using for your organization? And what do you want to incorporate? And what marketing things have you already created for the Kitsap Great Give? So always assess what your current assets before trying to create new things. So if you have a really well established Facebook audience and you really have that down, but you have only like one volunteer to help you with the Kitsap Great Give, do you really want that one volunteer to spend a bunch of time trying to build a Twitter audience? Maybe you do. Maybe that's your goal, is to increase your communication platforms. Great. But if that's not one of your goals, then I wouldn't have that volunteer spend a lot of time on that just because everyone else seems to be doing it or it sounds like a good idea in the trainings. Um, what current marketing collateral do you already have? And by collateral, I just mean that's all your printed stuff. Coasters, pens, business cards, flyers, posters. Have you already created things that you could simply add a Great Give logo to without having to redesign anything, without having to pay to print an entire new poster? So take a look at that. And if you don't have anything, you don't have to make anything. You can go and download all the stuff we provide. And as always, be really clear with yourself and realistic about what tools you're going to need. Communications plans and calendars. This is really important. If you do not have this or are overwhelmed at the idea of creating it, I have a sample calendar in the workbook, in your Kitsap Great Give workbook. You also have a checklist, a Word document checklist that is what you do 8 weeks out, what you do 7 weeks out, what you do 6 weeks out, all the way up until the day of and even the day after. All of that is in the workbook and in a separate checklist document. I also have sample Excel sheets. So don't be overwhelmed. Just download a template and use it. If you don't like my templates, there's other ones out there. Begin curating your content early. I'll talk more about that in a social media training. We have, again, in the guidebooks, phone scripts for what you might want to say if you call a donor. You could look at that script and adapt it to your own needs. We have sample e-blasts, sample newsletter articles, a variety of different things you can use. And always assign the roles. The day of logistics. Have a plan in place. Don't just say, okay, it's the day. I'm going to wake up, have coffee, cross my fingers, and post on social media like crazy, and then leave it at that. I would go ahead and make sure that everything is specifically laid out depending on what your resources are and your volunteer resources are. So, for instance, you would say at 8 a.m., this staff member is going to go and double check that our scheduled posts have gone up. And if they haven't, start making the posts. At 9 a.m., we're going to offer a prize, or we're going to start encouraging people about the early bird prize, although I think you'd have to start much earlier than 9. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. Somebody's checking social media, then at this time, they're going to go for a prize, and then this person's going to start making donor calls, etc. So make sure they know what they're doing, and make sure, and this is a great way to get the board involved, is that you have one to three people secured to make donations in the first couple hours. That way, people aren't going on like, ooh, no one's donating to that nonprofit. What's going on? Yeah, okay, I'm not going to go with them. You would think that that doesn't make sense. Why, if someone sees that you have no donations, they would want to give you some. I don't know why, but human brains don't work that way very often. A lot of people they want to hitch their wagon to a star, so to speak. So not only is it good for the psychology of giving, but also it keeps people's spirits up, especially if they're working so hard on an event and then it's like, wow, it's noon and nobody did anything. So have a couple of donors agree to make, even if it's a small donation, put some money in. So that's one way to keep things going. Again, if just because you have written everything down doesn't mean that everybody's going to remember no matter how often you say it. So either you, as the lead, taking the lead with the Great Give, or one of your volunteers, somebody needs to be responsible for making sure that stuff's actually getting done, and call them. Make sure everybody has the help that they need, and have a timeline and give it to everybody. So everybody knows, hey, at 5 a.m., we're going to start giving the wake up calls for the early bird. At 8, we're going to do this, etc. Um, make sure everybody knows exactly who's doing what. Leave nothing to the imagination. And who's in charge of making sure that it's all going well. So this one down here, who's in charge of coordinating the whole thing? Probably you if you're watching the training. Have a backup plan. People get sick. Sometimes you don't get donations and make your goal, and there's nothing you can do about it. You've done all this work, but sometimes things don't work out. Um, who's going to start making phone calls? Who's going to activate board members? People get the flu, children break their arms, cars break down, life happens. If one person can't do it, they shouldn't be panicking and in tears because they can't fulfill their duties. Make sure you have somebody that can step up if if it's whether it's a web person or somebody making phone calls. Make sure you have a backup. Follow-up planning. Now, what do you do after it's all done? The first thing is to thank your donors. Remember, we send the donors the tax receipt, so you don't have to worry about that. But somebody needs to be thanking them right away. Somebody needs to, within 24 hours. Somebody needs to do the weekly follow-up call. All that stuff that I talked about in the first training. Um, make sure all of this is coordinated, that somebody's sending out the prizes and they're not sitting in the storeroom or on someone's desk for 3 weeks, that actually gets to the donors on time. Remember, if somebody donates over $500, they really need to have a handwritten note. Now, this is something people often forget about: general metrics. And by that, I mean, how are you going to measure how this event was a success for you? Just because you met your financial goal, or did it drive traffic to your website? Do you have more post engagement on social media? Um, do you have more click through rates? So during the event, how did all of this work? Did you get new donors? Did you reactivate lapsed donors? So if you be clear right now before you get started about what your goals are, and like I said, get that database cleaned up, because if you don't do that work ahead of time, you're going to have a harder time afterwards getting those metrics to say, hang on a second, was this worth it? Did our efforts work well? If they did, what did we do right? If they didn't, what did we do wrong? So you're going to want to know all of those things. So prepare for that now, because you want a return on investment. You want to know what that is. Are you getting out what you need to compared to the work you put into it? And are you keeping your donors? That's important as well. Just because you've gotten new donors with the Kitsap Great Give doesn't mean they're going to stay. So come up with a way to track those donors and steward them and let them know how much you appreciate them, and keep their interest in your organization. Obviously, they care about the cause or they wouldn't have donated. How can you reach out to them and let them know how they can help you? What tools and resources are we providing? The same ones I put in the other trainings: your planning workbooks, your guidebooks, your video tutorials, checklists, regular communications. You can always call us. Don't forget that those informational videos can be embedded on your own website. You can link to them however you want to do it, to tell your donors what it's about, how the fees work, the processing fees, because there's no fee to participate. Um, use all of those things to help you in whatever way that you can. Okay. Obviously, we're not. You don't have to worry about the next training, because I'm I'm putting that online. Here's our handles and hashtags and things that we're using this year. If you notice somebody else using a different hashtag that's really getting a lot of attention, by all means add it. These are just a few suggestions for ways that you can get more attention to your cause. Also, remember, the Kitsap Community Foundation is our Facebook page, not Kitsap Great Give. Other resources: if you don't know what Kitsap Center for Nonprofit Excellence is, I would go here and check it out. It's a wonderful organization that we founded with the help of Olympic College United Way, and we provide high quality trainings tailored specifically to Kitsap nonprofits and also small to medium nonprofits in this area. Um, the areas surrounding Seattle are different. They have their own needs. It's not Seattle. It's a different situation, and often people forget that. And these trainings are tailored to meet the needs of individuals um, in communities like ours. So this year we do one full day workshop and 3 half day workshops every year. And this year we're doing social media on March 23rd, pardon me. So this is perfect timing. You can get a lot of tips and hints to get started before the Kitsap Great Give, or to use during. This guy is the one giving the full day workshop, John Hayden, who literally wrote the book on Facebook. And his specialty, he didn't just write the book on Facebook, but his specialty is helping nonprofits. So he is really great. I spent a couple hours on the phone with him, just really talking about the content of what he's going to present and tailoring that towards what the needs of nonprofits in our area are. So it's going to be fantastic. Check it out on the website. There's tons of materials that are going to be provided to you that you can walk away and use. A lot of topics covered. It'll be good. Don't forget to register, update your profile, all that stuff. Please check your e-blasts that are going to be coming, because they're going to be packed with information. Flag them, save them, come back and read them and look at the links. I'll be sending you a lot of stuff. I want to give you as much as you can, as much as I can, to help you get ready and have a smooth, positive experience. And remember, don't get overwhelmed. Just because it's out there doesn't mean you have to use it. But I know every nonprofit's in a different situation. So I want to provide tools and solutions for all across the board. So pick what's right for you. And of course, you can call us. This is our main number. Chantal, the wonderful Chantal, will give you to the right person depending on your needs. And of course, email Shane with any technical questions at any time, and me with any promo questions. So that's it for this training. Thanks for joining me, and good luck in the Kitsap Great Give.